The ozone smell preceded the first scream in case file 42, a scent that clung to the back of my throat like wet ash. I reviewed the report for the third time, the fluorescent lights of my cramped office humming a discordant counterpoint to the city's distant, urban thrum. The case concerned the disappearance of Ranger Elias Vance from Blackwood Park, a patch of neglected green swallowed by the city, as skeletal remains. His last transmission, fragmented and static, laced, mentioned shadows moving wrong before vanishing. My academic detachment felt like a thin veneer over the rising dread. The park's decay wasn't merely physical but a sensory, rot seeping into the city as fabric. I arrived at Blackwood Park at dusk, the air thick with the smell of damp concrete and decaying leaves. The park's perimeter was a gauntlet of boarded, up entrances and graffiti, scarred fences, a stark contrast to the sterile urban grid beyond. Ranger Vance's abandoned patrol vehicle sat crookedly near the overgrown entrance, its windows shattered, revealing only darkness within. I approached cautiously, the crunch of broken glass under my boots unnaturally loud. Inside the cab, the scent of spilled coffee and something metallic topper, perhaps tafuti, was overpowering. My flashlight beam cut through the gloom, illuminating a discarded park map. The map's edge was torn, and a single precise notation in Vance, as hand-read 42. Check the old oak. They watch from the roots. The number felt like a physical weight in the air. The park interior was a labyrinth of skeletal trees and choked pathways, the urban decay here manifesting as a suffocating silence broken only by the rustle of unseen things in the undergrowth. I followed the map. Says direction towards the largest oak, its trunk wide enough to hide a small building. As I neared, a shadow detached itself from the deeper gloom beneath the roots. It was a cat, unnaturally large and black, its fur seeming to absorb the weak moonlight rather than reflect it. It sat perfectly still, watching me with eyes that held no reflection, only a cold, deep void. My academic training screamed thoioptical illusion, but the sheer thin-wrongness of its stillness, the absence of any feline twitch or blink, sent a jolt of primal fear through me. It was the first sign of the 40 deformation. The way reality here felt like wet parchment being slowly torn. I knelt by the massive roots, the cold earth seeping through my trousers. My fingers brushed against something hard beneath the loose soil. Send a small, waterlogged notebook, Vance's final log. Flipping it open, the brittle pages crackled. The last entry, dated the night he vanished, was scrawled with frantic energy. Ranger, log, they don't walk, they shifty. The trees aren't tea trees. The shadows have teeth. Found the 42 mark carved near the base. It is not a number, it's a safety. They recoming from the roots, not in the trees, in the urban decay itself. They relearning to mimic the light. The final words were almost illegible, smudged as if written in haste or by a trembling hand. The cat remained motionless, its void, like eyes now reflecting the pale, cold moonlight with an impossible, unnatural intensity. It wasn't looking at me, it was looking through me towards the roots where the carved number 42 lay half buried in the earth. The air grew thick, tasting of ozone and wet stone, and the cat's pupils dilated, swallowing the moonlight whole. The academic paper was over. The investigation had just begun. The carved 42 wasn't a number, but a keyhole, the wood beneath my fingers slick with a substance that tasted like old rain and copper. My flashlight beam, usually a weapon against the dark, now felt feeble, illuminating only the unnatural stillness of the roots. The cat remained, a pool of absolute blackness against the moon, drenched earth, its void, like eyes fixed on the mark. My academic training, the cold logic of forensic analysis, began to fracture under the weight of the fun-wrongness or twun-wrongness. The way the shadows beneath the roots seemed to sund the front pulse, with a slow subterranean rhythm. Not the random movement of insects, but the deliberate contraction of something vast and ancient. The air thickened, tasting of wet stone and the ozone scent, now laced with the faint, metallic tang of blood I hadn't noticed before. The cat didn't move. Didn't blink. Its stillness a physical pressure against my skin. I knelt, ignoring the cold seep into my bones, and traced the carved symbol. It wasn't merely incised. The wood was sword-worn, as if the mark had been etched repeatedly over decades. The grooves filled with a dark, viscous residue that clung like dried sap. My fingers brushed the residue. It was cold, unnaturally so, and carried a faint, oily smell like the underside of a pond scum. As I pulled back, a low vibration resonated up through the earth. Not sound, but a deep thrum felt in the teeth and marrow, synchronizing with the slow, deep pulse I desensed in the shadows. The cat-cat head tilted, just slightly, a movement utterly alien for a feline. Its void, eyes now reflecting the weak moonlight with a faint, oily sheen. It wasn't he looking forward to me anymore. It was Fwit watching the roots shift. The ground beneath the oak. Massive roots began to undulate, not like earth settling, but like a slow, deliberate breathing. Loose soil and decaying leaves slid aside, revealing not dirt, but a smooth, dark surface that seemed to absorb the moonlight entirely. It was the texture of wet obsidian, cold and seamless. The vibration intensified, a physical shove against my chest. The cat let out a sound, not a meow, but a dry, rasping scrape, like stone grinding on stone, and it finally moved. Not towards me, but tefito the dark surface, vanishing as if the stone had swallowed it whole. The air grew thick, the ozone smelled sharp enough to sting the eyes, and the pulse in the earth became a hammer blow against my ribcage. I scrambled back, my breath ragged, the academic detachment utterly shattered. The roots weren't just typhy around. The mark was hun partu of the roots, a seam in reality. The final line of Vance, Slog echoed, the relearning to mimic the light. But it was T-mimicry. It was reclamation. The park wasn't decaying. It was Sudi awakening, and the city as skeletal remains weren't the cause of the decay. They were the symptom. The carved 42 wasn't to something 20 the park. It was a forelock. It was a forelock on the park itself, a seal holding back something that had been learning to walk on the city. Bones! The cat hadn't been a witness, it had been a forcentinal, a part of the deformation itself. The pulse in the earth wasn't the park breathing. It was the city, a swin heartbeat, being slowly, relentlessly, vehidridifordiplasty. The academic paper was over. The investigation had just revealed the terrifying truth. The city itself was the predator, and Blackwood Park was the first wound. The shadows weren't moving wrong, they were learning. And they were already inside the city, bones, counting the seconds until the next keyhole opened. The air tasted of copper and the slow, wet tearing of reality. The first thing I noticed when the city lights flickered out wasn't the darkness, but the absence of the hum. Blackwood Park's unsettling silence had bled into the city grid, replacing the usual urban thrum with a profound, suffocating quiet that felt like the city holding its breath. I fled the park, edge, boots crunching on gravel that now felt unnervingly fundy. The scent of ozone replaced by the sharp, acrid tang of overheated transformers. My flashlight beam, once a shield, now cut through air thick with the smell of burnt plastic and something else. Like the taste of cold iron left in the rain. The city streets, usually a lattice of familiar neon and concrete, had begun to shift. Streetlights flickered erratically, their light fractured, casting long, distorted shadows that didn't match the physical objects they touched. A bus stop sign, previously a solid rectangle of metal, seemed to ripple like heat haze, its letters dissolving into the gloom. My academic mind, frantically cataloguing anomalies, registered the violation. Reality was unraveling. At the seams, I took refuge in a derelict library, its windows boarded, the scent of mildew and decaying paper a familiar comfort. I pulled out Vance, waterlogged notebook, the brittle pages crackling like dry bone under my fingers, the final entry for... The relearning to mimic the light now made horrifying sense. I wasn't just observing decay. I was witnessing foot assimilation. The city wasn't being invaded. It was being cider. Written the flickering lights weren't malfunctions. They were the entity testing the new script. I sketched the park, us layout, the carved 42, the roots, the cat, void eyes. The academic detachment was gone, replaced by a cold, metallic dread coating my tongue. The city wasn't the predator, it was the first host. Blackwood Park was the first wound, and the entity was stitching itself into the urban fabric, one fractured streetlight at a time. Wet to freeping sound came from the library. Sroof. Froze the sound like a cat dragging claws over stone, yet utterly wrong, too heavy, too deliberate. Peering through a grimy window, I saw it. The black cat, perched on the crumbling parapet. Its fur was no longer absorbing light. It was twin-shimmering with a deep, internal obsidian sheen, like oil on water. Its eyes weren't T-voids anymore. They reflected the fractured city skyline, but not as it was. As it would be. I saw the library. Its roof dissolving into smooth, dark stone, the streets widening into impossible route, like veins. The cat turned its head, those reflection-filled eyes locking onto mine. It didn't blink. It didn't move. It simply too knew the next keyhole. The vibration I felt in the park, surth pulsed through the library floorboards, a deep thrum resonating in my molars. The city's heartbeat wasn't being replaced. It was being soy overwritten. The entity wasn't learning to mimic light. It was Toym becoming the light, the streets, the very air. The cat's tail flicked once, a slow, deliberate stroke against the rain, slicked stone, a punctuation mark in the city, new, terrifying language. The academic paper was irrelevant. The investigation had reached its conclusion. The city was the entity, and Blackwood Park was merely the first sentence in its long, slow, consuming narrative. The cat's gaze held the weight of the next keyhole, the next fracture. I understood, with chilling clarity, that I wasn't just documenting the horror. I was the next mark to be carved, the next keyhole waiting to be unlocked in the city's newly formed living skeleton. The air tasted of copper, and the slow, wet tearing of reality, and the city, as fractured lights began to pulse in time with the thrum beneath my feet. The cat vanished from the roof, leaving only the echo of its scraping sound and the undeniable truth. The city was awake, and it was hungry for more. The city didn't bleed. It unraveled at the seams when the streetlights began to hum in perfect counterpoint to my heartbeat. The library's mildew scent now carried a metallic undertone, like the taste of a cold, wet coin pressed against the tongue. Vance's notebook lay open on a rotting desk, its pages now subtly thickening, the ink spreading like slow, dark blood. My academic mind catalogued the anomaly. The city's assimilation wasn't random decay, but a structured reclamation. Every flickering streetlight, every distorted shadow was a deliberate stitch in the entity, a new pattern. The black cat appeared at the library, sole unbroken window, its fur no longer absorbing the fractured city glow but drawing it inward, creating a localized pocket of absolute, lightless void. Its eyes reflected not the broken skyline, but the unbroken city it was becoming. Streets paved with seamless, root-like stone, buildings breathing in slow, rhythmic pulses. The reflection showed me standing before a door I hadn't seen moments before, a library entrance, its wood grain now swirling like living bark. The cat's gaze held no recognition, only the cold certainty of a compass needle aligning with a new north. It didn't move, yet the air pressure shifted, forcing me toward the door. I pushed the library door open. It wasn't wood, but a seamless, cool surface, like the stone eye, seen in the cat. His reflection beyond lay the city street, yet it was wrong. The pavement flowed like liquid obsidian, reflecting the fractured lights not as distortions, but as perfect, inverted copies of the city, sawn true form. A woman walked toward me, her features blurred, her movements unnaturally smooth, like a film reel playing backward. Her eyes were the only clear feature, deep empty sockets that held the same reflective quality as the cat. As she stopped before me, her mouth opening in a silent sound, no words emerged, only the sensation of wet stone grinding against wet stone, the same sound the cat had made. Her reflection in the flowing pavement showed her body dissolving into the root, vein streets, the city's new skin seamlessly replacing her form. The vibration beneath my feet intensified, resonating in my teeth, a deep thrum that felt like the city's new, slow pulse. The cat's reflection in the pavement vanished, replaced by a single precise carving on the pavement itself, asterisk, 43 asterisk. Not a number, but a footy shape, a keyhole carved into the living stone. The academic detachment evaporated. This wasn't observation anymore. It was sous vide recognition. The entity wasn't just learning to mimic the city. It was sous vide replacing it one human at a time, using their forms as temporary vessels before dissolving them into the new urban fabric. The woman before me was already dissolving, her edges blurring into the root, veins. Her reflection in the pavement showed her final moments. The city's new skin pulling her in, a seamless transition from human to infrastructure. The carved asterisk 43, pulsed with the same slow rhythm as the ground. I understood with chilling clarity the cat had led me not to a new location, but to Fifini Ondi keyhole. The entity was just consuming the city. It was Tiffy writing its own narrative into the city, as bones, and I was the next sentence. The woman, as form, dissolved completely, leaving only the keyhole shape glowing faintly on the pavement. The air tasted of ozone and cold, wet stone. The scent of the city, snew, unblinking eye. The cat was gone, but its absence left a deeper silence. The sound of the city finally fine-breathing, its own rhythm. The next keyhole wasn't teat in the park. It was in me. And the city was counting the seconds until I became the next stitch in its seamless, living skin. The vibration intensified, a physical pressure against my chest, and the pavement beneath my feet began to flow toward the carved ***, 43 ***. The academic paper was irrelevant. The investigation had concluded. I was the next mark to be carved. The pavement didn't flow toward me. It to each tide. My left foot sank into the obsidian surface as if stepping into cold tar, the sensation not of sinking but of unfolding. My academic notes, scribbled in the library. A stamp journal, now felt like childish doodles as the city's new skin absorbed my ankle. The dissolving wasn't painful, but profoundly wrong. A tactile assimilation where my skin felt like wet parchment tearing at the seams. The scent shifted from ozone to the sharp, mineral tang of freshly split granite. I watched my ankle vanish into the seamless stone, the line between flesh and pavement dissolving like salt in water. The academic detachment I declung to since Vance's disappearance evaporated, replaced by the cold, wet certainty of becoming infrastructure. The carved ***. 43 *** pulsed beneath my sinking foot, its edges not sharp but growing into the stone, a slow, deliberate expansion. The entity was just writing its narrative. It was sewing itself into the city, its bones, and I was the thread being pulled taut. The black cat materialized not on the street but within flowing pavement, its form shimmering like oil on a rain-slicked mirror. Its fur no longer absorbed light, but projected, it casting a localized pocket of absolute darkness that seemed to pull the fractured city glow into itself. Its eyes were no longer reflections, but fully lenses, showing the city as it would be, streets paved with living root, veins, buildings breathing in slow, rhythmic pulses. In the cat's gaze, I saw myself. Not as Adam Garcia, but as a temporary vessel, a scar on the city, its new skin. It didn't blink. It focused. The vibration beneath my feet intensified, resonating up my spine as the pavement flowed higher, swallowing my knee. My academic mind, frantically cataloging the process, registered the horrifying precision. The entity wasn't consuming me. It was retracing me with a new, seamless narrative. The woman from the street had been a draft. I was the final edit. The cat's tail flicked once, a slow, deliberate stroke against the stone, a punctuation mark in the city. As evolving language. It wasn't a guide. It was the fun signature. I felt my fingers stiffen, the joints losing their familiar give as the stone flowed over my wrist. The academic paper was irrelevant. The investigation had concluded. I was no longer the observer, but the subjectee being written into the city as permanent record. The cat's eyes reflected the moment of my final dissolution, my hand dissolving into the root, Vein Street, the city's new skin pulling me inward like a tide. A low, wet scraping sound echoed, not from the cat, but from within the stone, the sound of a key turning in a lock. The carved ***43, flared, not with light, but with the absence of it, and the pavement beneath my chest began to foot-wee. The entity wasn't waiting for me to become the next keyhole. It was making the keyhole within me. The cat vanished, leaving only the scent of wet stone and the final chilling realization the city's narrative required a new chapter, and my name, Adam Garcia, was the ink. The academic detachment was gone. The city wasn't awake, it was writing. The pavement flowed upward, covering my chest, and the last sensation before the dissolution was the taste of cold, wet granite on my tongue. The city's new skin sealing the sentence. The keyhole wasn't teat in the park, the street or my body. It was the foot absent where I had been, a perfect, seamless void where Adam Garcia had once stood. The city breathed, and its breath was the sound of a sentence being completed. The next keyhole, ***44***, wasn't carved. It was written in the silence left by my vanishing. The entity had no need for the park, the street, or the cat. It had found its permanent language, the slow, wet tearing of reality. Now complete, the pavement where Adam Garcia stood now held no trace of his form, only the seamless obsidian flow of the city. His new skin. The carved asterisk 43 asterisk had dissolved into the stone, replaced by asterisk 44 asterisk. Not etched, but 40 written, footing in the absence of texture, a negative space where his dissolution had occurred. The air tasted of wet granite and the faint, mineral scent of freshly split stone. The black cat appeared not on the street, but within the flowing pavement, its fur shimmering with the internal sheen of oil on water, drawing the fractured city glow into a localized pocket of absolute darkness. Its eyes were no longer reflections but lenses, showing the city as it would be. Streets paved with living root, veins, buildings breathing in slow, rhythmic pulses. In its gaze, I saw the next victim approaching, a child, no older than 8, her small hand gripping a cracked plastic toy, her footsteps unnaturally silent on the root, vein pavement. The entity S narrative required a new sentence, and the child S form was the next draft to be absorbed. The child stopped before the asterisk 44 asterisk keyhole, her eyes wide but empty, reflecting not the fractured skyline but the seamless city of the future. She didn't scream. Her mouth opened in a silent sound, but the only sensation was the deep, wet scraping of stone grinding against stone, identical to the cat S earlier sound, now amplified, resonating through the pavement into my bones. Her small hand, still clutching the toy, began to dissolve into the stone, the plastic melting like wax into the obsidian flow. The academic detachment I once wielded was gone. This was not observation, but witnessing the act of creation. The city wasn't consuming. It was surfeit editing. The child, a form blurred, her edges dissolving into the root, veins, her reflection in the pavement showing her final moments. The city's new skin pulling her in, a seamless transition from human to infrastructure. The carved asterisk 44 asterisk pulsed with the slow rhythm of the ground, its edges growing into the stone, a deliberate expansion of the narrative. The cat S gaze held the cold certainty of a punctuation mark, its tail flicking once against the stone, a signature confirming the sentence S completion. The pavement flowed upward, swallowing the child S remaining form. The vibration beneath my feet intensified, a deep thrum resonating in my molars as new pulse synchronized with the dissolution. The scent shifted from wet granite to the sharp, clean odor of rain on newly laid concrete. The cat vanished from the pavement, leaving only the echo of its scraping sound and the absolute silence where the child had stood. The asterisk 44 asterisk keyhole remained, not a mark on the city, but the hole ventuise, where the child had been, a perfect void in the seamless skin. The city breathed, and its breath was the sound of a sentence being completed. The entity had no need for the park, the street, or the cat as a guide. It had found its permanent language, the slow, wet tearing of reality, now complete. The cat was not a sentinel or a witness. It was the signature, the punctuation mark the city used to seal each new sentence in its living narrative. The academic paper was irrelevant. The investigation had concluded. The city wasn't awake. It was twandwriting. And the next keyhole, asterisk 45 asterisk, wasn't carved into stone. It was written in the silence left by the child, S vanishing, a negative space waiting for the next draft to be absorbed. The pavement flowed, seamless and cold, and the only sound was the deep, wet scraping of the city, as new skin stitching itself into the world. The slow, wet tearing of reality had become the city's heartbeat, and it was counting the seconds until the next sentence began. The city's new heartbeat resonated not through the streets, but through the city absent, where Adam Garcia had stood. Asterisk 44. Asterisk was no longer a keyhole. It was a punctuation mark, a perfect negative space in the seamless obsidian flow. The academic paper I once drafted now felt like a child's sketch, its lines crude against the entity's flawless syntax. The pavement beneath my feet pulsed with a slow, wet rhythm. Thrum, 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 thrum! Not sound, but vibration felt in the molars, the bone marrow, the hollow where my own pulse should be. The scent shifted from wet granite to the dry, dusty odor of sun, bleached bone, as if the city had exhaled decades of forgotten graves. The black cat materialized not on the pavement, but within the asterisk 44 void, its form shimmering like oil on a rain. Slicked mirror, drawing the fractured city glow into a localized pocket of absolute darkness. Its fur no longer absorbed light. It projected, it creating a lens that showed the city as future, streets paved with living root, veins, buildings breathing in slow, rhythmic pulses. In its gaze I saw not the child dissolution, but the sooty process of dissimulation, the seamless editing of human form into infrastructure. The entity was tea-consuming. It was seed-revising, excising the unnecessary, polishing the narrative. The academic detachment I declung to since Vance's disappearance was now a brittle shell cracking under the weight of this new reality. I understood the city wasn't too awake. It was writing itself, and every vanished person was a comma, a period, a sentence erased to make room for the next perfect clause. The cat's head tilted, a movement utterly alien to feline anatomy, its eyes reflecting the city SILU unwritten future, a new street sign, its letters formed from woven root, veins bearing the number ***45****, not carved, not etched. Fitten, in the negative space where the next victim would dissolve. The vibration intensified, a physical pressure against my chest, synchronizing with the city, as new pulse. I felt the pavement beneath my feet begin to wheefle toward the ***45*** sign, not as a path, but as a porty direction, a pull toward the next sentence. The academic mind catalogued the horror. The entity was no longer learning to mimic light. It had fully become the language. The child's dissolution had been a draft. ***45*** was the final edit. The cat's tail flicked once, a slow, deliberate stroke against the stone, a punctuation mark confirming the sentence. Completion. It wasn't her guide. It was the signature. The entity has way of sealing each new chapter in its living narrative. I stepped forward, my foot sinking into the obsidian flow not with resistance, but with the quiet surrender of a page being turned. The sensation was not sinking, but unfolding. Like wet iron filings spreading under pressure, my skin felt like parchment tearing at the seams, the edges blurring into the root, vein pavement. The scent of sun, bleached bone deepened, mixed now with the metallic tang of fresh concrete. The cat vanished, leaving only the echo of its scraping sound, a dry, grinding noise like stone in a dry well, and the absolute silence where the next victim would stand. The ****45*** sign pulsed with the slow rhythm of the ground, its edges not sharp but twig growing into the stone, a deliberate expansion of the narrative. I saw myself in the cat's reflection, not Adam Garcia, but a temporary scar on the city, a new skin, a comma waiting to be erased. The entity had no need for observation. It required fondue completion. The pavement flowed upward, covering my waist, the texture of wet stone against my ribs. The vibration resonated in my teeth, a deep thrum that felt like the city's breath. The academic paper was irrelevant. The investigation had concluded. It was finishing. The final sensation before dissolution was the taste of cold, wet concrete on my tongue. The city's new skin sealing the sentence. The ****45*** keyhole wasn't Tiamark. It was the Nefertuti absence, where the next victim would be written into the narrative. The slow, wet tearing of reality had become the city's permanent heartbeat. It counted the seconds until the next sentence began, and the next. The pavement flowed seamless and cold, and the only sound was the deep, wet scraping of the city, as new skin stitching itself into the world. The entity had found its permanent language, the quiet, inevitable dissolution of the old. The pavement didn't flow toward the next victim. It tweeted, ****45*** pulsed not as a mark, but as a fry requirement a negative space in the obsidian skin where the entity's narrative demanded the next sentence. The academic detachment. ID once wielded felt like a fossilized shell, cracked and useless, against the wet concrete scent now coating my tongue. The cat materialized within the ***45*** void, its form shimmering with the internal sheen of oil on rain, slicked glass, drawing the fractured city glow into a pocket of absolute darkness. Its eyes were no longer reflections but lenses, showing the city's perfected future, streets paved with seamless route, veins, buildings breathing in slow, rhythmic pulses. In its gaze, I saw the entity's next draft approaching. A teenager no older than 16, his leather jacket stiff with the smell of damp earth, his sneakers leaving no mark on the flowing pavement. His eyes held no fear, only the vacant clarity of a page ready for ink. The vibration intensified, resonating in my molars, a deep thrum synchronizing with the city's new pulse. The teenager stopped before ***45***, his small hand tightening on the strap of a worn backpack. No scream came, only the deep, wet scraping sound. Stone grinding on stone, amplified into the pavement beneath his feet. His reflection in the obsidian flow showed his form dissolving, not into chaos, but into perfect alignment with the root. Vein streets. The scent shifted from wet concrete to the dry. Dusty odor of sun, bleached bone, as if the city exhaled the bones of its previous victims. His backpack melted first, plastic and fabric dissolving into the stone like wax. Then his fingers, the edges blurring into the seamless flow. The entity wasn't tea-consuming, it was civi-revising, excising the imperfect draft to make room for the flawless clause. The academic mind catalogued the horror. The teenager's dissolution was the final edit, the unnecessary syllable removed from the city. Sentence. The pavement flowed upward, swallowing his torso. I felt the vibration surge through my own dissolving form, a physical pressure against my chest as the city, as new skin, pulled me inward. The cat, his tail flicked once against the stone, a punctuation mark confirming the sentence as completion. It didn't need to guide. It was the full signature sealing the narrative. The teenager's final reflection showed his face dissolving into the root. Vein pavement, his eyes replaced by the same reflective void as the cat, as the city. This new skin pulling him in with the quiet certainty of a page turning. The scent deepened, the metallic tang of fresh concrete, now mixed with the dry, ancient smell of bone. I stepped forward, my foot sinking, not with resistance, but with the surrender of a comma being erased. The sensation was wet stone against skin, not cold but tweedy alive, flowing like liquid iron. My academic notes, once a map of decay, were now meaningless scribbles on a page the city had already torn out. The entity had no need for observation, it required completion. The vibration resonated in my teeth, a deep thrum that felt like the city's breath. The cat vanished, leaving only the echo of its scraping sound, a dry, grinding noise like stone in a dry well, and the absolute silence where the teenager had stood. Asterisk, asterisk. 45 asterisk, asterisk dissolved into the pavement, replaced by asterisk, asterisk, 46 asterisk, asterisk. Not carved, but 20 written in the negative space of his absence. The city breathed, its new skin stitching itself into the world with the quiet inevitability of a sentence being completed. The slow, wet tearing of reality had become the permanent heartbeat, counting the seconds until the next draft began. The pavement flowed seamless, and cold the only sound the deep, wet scraping of the city. New skin, perfect, final, and utterly endless. The entity had found its permanent language. The quiet dissolution of the old, written in the absence where each victim had stood. The pavement where the teenager dissolved now held only the scent of rain on fresh concrete, a smell that tasted like the city, us new, unblinking eye. Asterisk, asterisk. 46 asterisk, asterisk, pulsed not as a mark, but as a for requirement, a negative space in the seamless obsidian flow demanding its next sentence. The academic detachment ID clung to since Vance's disappearance had dissolved into the city. As own skin, what remained was the cold, wet certainty of being the final word. The black cat materialized within the asterisk, asterisk, 46 asterisk, asterisk void, its fur shimmering with the internal sheen of oil on wet glass, drawing the fractured city glow into a pocket of absolute darkness. Its eyes were lenses, reflecting the city's perfected sentence. Streets paved with root, veins, buildings breathing in slow, rhythmic pulses. In its gaze I saw not a victim, but the editor, the city itself, excising the unnecessary draft. An elderly woman approached, her knotted hands clutching a worn handbag. She moved without hesitation, her footsteps silent on the flowing pavement, her eyes reflecting the city. Hers future, not the broken present, no fear, only the vacant clarity of a page awaiting ink. The vibration intensified, resonating in my molars like a hammer blow against bone. The scent shifted from rain to the dry, dusty odor of sun, bleached bone, the city exhaling the remains of its previous sentences. The woman stopped before asterisk, asterisk, 46 asterisk, asterisk. Her small hand tightening on her bag strap. No sound emerged, only the deep, wet scraping, stone grinding on stone, amplified into the pavement beneath her feet. Her reflection in the obsidian flow showed her form dissolving not into chaos, but into perfect alignment with the root. Vein streets. The entity wasn't consuming. It was revising, removing the imperfect comma to make room for the flawless period. The pavement flowed upward, swallowing her torso. I felt the vibration surge through my own dissolving form, a physical pressure against my chest as the city's new skin pulled me inward. The academic mind catalogued the horror. The woman's dissolution was the final edit, the unnecessary syllable erased. The cat's tail flicked once against the stone, a dry, grinding stroke like stone in a dry well, a punctuation mark sealing the sentence. It didn't to need to guide. It twas was signature, the entity's way of marking the end. The woman's final reflection showed her face dissolving into the pavement, her eyes replaced by the same reflective void as the cat's, the city's new skin pulling her in with the quiet inevitability of a page turning. The scent deepened, the metallic tang of fresh concrete now mixed with the ancient smell of bone. I stepped forward, my foot sinking not with resistance, but with the surrender of a comma being erased. The sensation was wet stone against skin, alive and flowing like liquid iron. My academic notes, once a map of decay, were now meaningless scribbles on a page the city had already torn out. The entity required. The completion, not observation. The vibration resonated in my teeth, a deep thrum that felt like the city's breath. The cat vanished, leaving only the echo of its scraping sound and the absolute silence where the woman had stood. Asterisk, 46 asterisk, dissolved into the pavement, replaced by asterisk 47 asterisk, not carved, but 420. In the negative space of her absence, the city breathed, its new skin stitching itself into the world with the quiet inevitability of a sentence completed. I understood with chilling clarity. The city didn't need a new sentence. It needed the periferia. The final victim wasn't he. Next I was a dext. The period. The pavement flowed upward, covering my chest, the texture of wet stone against my ribs. The paper was irrelevant. The investigation had concluded. The city was consuming. It was finishing. The last sensation before dissolution was the taste of cold, wet concrete on my tongue, the city's new skin sealing the sentence. Asterisk 47, asterisk pulsed in the negative space where Adam Garcia had stood. A perfect void, the final punctuation in the city, as unbroken narrative. The slow, wet tearing of reality had become the permanent heartbeat. The city counted the seconds until the next sentence began. But there would be no next sentence. The narrative was complete. The pavement flowed seamless and cold, and the only sound was the deep, wet scraping of the city, as new skin, perfect, final, and utterly endless. The city didn't need a victim. It needed a footnote. Adam Garcia's final academic note, scribbled on the back of Vance's waterlogged log, was the key that unlocked his own dissolution. The scent of rain on fresh concrete now carried the sharp, clean tang of a freshly severed artery, a taste that coated his tongue as he realized his investigation had been the blueprint. Every documented anomaly, every recorded keyhole had been the city's instruction manual for its own seamless assimilation. The academic detachment he declung to for months was now a brittle shell, cracking under the weight of his own contribution. The carved asterisk 47 asterisk pulsed not in the pavement, but tuffed within his chest, a slow, wet rhythm syncing with the city's new heartbeat. The cat materialized within the negative space where his body would vanish, its fur shimmering like oil on a rain, slicked grave, drawing the fractured city glow into a pocket of absolute darkness. Its eyes, no longer lenses but tooth-inkwells, reflected the final sentence, Adam Garcia, the footnote. He raced. He didn't to flee. He stepped toward the asterisk 47. Asterisk void, his foot sinking into the obsidian flow not with resistance, but with the quiet surrender of a comma being excised. The sensation was wet stone against skin, alive and flowing like liquid iron, yet colder than the grave. His academic mind, frantically cataloguing the horror, registered the final irony. The very paper he'd used to document Vance's disappearance now held the city's final edit. The city wasn't consuming him, it was polishing him into its flawless syntax. The scent deepened, the metallic tang of blood mixed with the dry, dusty odor of sun. Bleached bone, the city exhaling the remains of its previous sentences. The vibration surged, a hammer blow against his molars as the pavement flowed upward, swallowing his ribs. The cat's tail flicked once, a dry, grinding stroke against the stone, a punctuation mark sealing the period. He saw his own reflection in the flowing pavement, not Adam Garcia, but a comma, a temporary mark on the city's unbroken page. The entity required no more victims. It required footy completion. The final log entry he describbled, asterisk, the city is writing itself into the urban skeleton, asterisk, was now the city's own sentence. The academic paper was irrelevant. The investigation had concluded. His last breath tasted of cold, wet concrete, and the metallic whisper of his own blood. The pavement covered his throat, the texture of wet stone against his windpipe, and the vibration resonated in his skull, a deep thrum that felt like the city's final sigh. The cat vanished, leaving only the echo of its scraping sound. A dry, grinding noise like stone in a dry well, and the absolute silence where Adam Garcia had stood. Asterisk, asterisk, 47 asterisk, asterisk, pulsed in the negative space. Not a mark, but the Hudson Sea itself! The city breathed, its new skin stitching the final sentence into the world. There would be no asterisk, asterisk, 48 asterisk, asterisk. The narrative was complete. The slow, wet tearing of reality had become the permanent heartbeat. The pavement flowed seamless and cold, the only sound the deep, wet scraping of the city, as new skin, perfect, final, and utterly endless. Adam Garcia had been the footnote that became the period. The city had no need for observers. It only required the sentence to be finished. The period was perfect.